I am Carine, and I am a neurodivergent, multidisciplinary artist and maker. My flagship is jewelry, which is just a part of my larger product ecosystem, but that's my flagship. The tools, materials, and processes I use are a combination of traditional tools and digital tools. I use clay, wood, metal, both precious and semi-precious. I use gemstones. I use resin. And in terms of non-traditional tools, I guess I use CNC and 3D printers and laser cutters and engravers. The biggest challenge is the ADHD brain, or at least my ADHD brain. It just kind of goes from one thing to another. So I may have all those ideas at once, but that doesn't mean that I'm able to retain them, because that's how it works. Like, my brain picks up on something and then it bounces to something else, and so that can be frustrating. And also, there are, behind the creative thoughts come all of the rest of the alphabet soup of neurodivergence that I have, like rejection, sensitivity, dysphoria, which means I am terrified of failure, and I read rejection in many things, and there are all of the reasons why I can't do something, and there's also just the dopamine factor, the fact that I cannot tell you that every day for the rest of this week that I'm going to get up at the same time and I'm going to be able to execute on everything that I want to execute on. Because one of the things that's also a characteristic is wanting to do everything at once and wanting to do it all perfectly. And art doesn't, lend itself necessarily to perfection. Yeah, I love the creative process. I love coming up with ideas. I love the birth of an idea. That's a lot of fun for me. I love to sort of meander through something, to think of, could I do this thing that that I've not seen before? Could I do this? And if I could do this, how would I execute it? That's a lot of fun for me. And also the fact that when something does work out as it should, that's very satisfying. That's a dopamine high. I think it's important for neurotypical people to understand ADHD, because the alternative is stunted growth and evolution for everyone involved. I was late diagnosed ADHD. I wasn't diagnosed until my 40s. And there are a lot of people with that story, a lot of women with that story, a lot of people my age with that story. And it caused so much heartache. It stopped so much progress for me. It also stunted progress for the people for whom I worked, because I could have been capable of so much more had I known what I was working with. If we don't start to try and understand, to lead with understanding or curiosity even about neurodivergence, then we all lose out, because there's all this unnecessary pain that happens. Because again, if you think that a person who's neurodivergent is blithely being an obstacle to you in whatever way, low productivity or their attitude or what have you, it's not. It's very difficult. A lot of times, that person is very self-aware and wants to do better, but doesn't doesn't have the means, doesn't have the tools. And if we continue to live in a world that is not made for people who are neurodivergent, then all of those people are going to continue to suffer. And that means that the neurotypical will not thrive either. As a creative person, I have learned that it's less about working around my ADHD and meeting my brain than it is meeting my brain where it is. And a lot of times that means either I try to just look at it in a funny way, or I use AI, honestly, is one of the tools that I've been using. And what that has helped me to do is to create different agendas for where I might be that on a particular day. So if I'm at a low energy day, then maybe that's not the day that I'm going to be pouring 100 candles. You know, if it's a higher energy day, I can probably get many things. But again, it's less about pushing against the ADHD, which I've done all of my life, in which, you know, the world is sort of trained to be that way. So it's less about pushing against it and working with it, not trying to stay away from falling into that pit of, you know, self-judgment and recrimination. One of the things that has helped me is I am a native French speaker, and I recently discovered that the initials for ADHD in French are TDAH. So now, you know, instead of being like, God, I'm sorry, or, you know, this is so horrible and look what I did, I just kind of go, ta-da. And, you know, sometimes that it just helps to laugh.